Once a cheater, always a cheater. For people like that, forever and ever is just a pretty phrase, nothing more. When I met Mila, my life was already on track. I had a decent job, my own house, and even a car. Quite the package, huh? And Mila, being a smart and ambitious woman, wasn't one to let an opportunity like that slip by. So 6 months in, she made sure we were walking down the aisle. Honestly, I didn't need much convincing. I was head over heels. Mila wasn't just gorgeous and sharp. She was also a fantastic homemaker. 2 months into our marriage, she moved into my place, and wow, it was like the house had come alive. She hung elegant curtains, picked out chic new dishes, and even spruced up the front porch with flowers. Slowly but surely, we were building a life together, and everything seemed perfect. I even switched jobs to have more time for her. The new gig came with a company car, so my own vehicle spent most of its time gathering dust in the garage. Mila would occasionally take it for a spin, usually to meet friends at a cafe or hit the mall for some retail therapy. And let me tell you, I thought I'd hit the jackpot with her. She wasn't a big spender. Our shopping hauls were modest, maybe a pair of sunglasses, a purse, or a scarf here and there. Looking back, I should have questioned it, but I was blinded by love and couldn't see the red flags waving right in front of me. Then, one day my bubble popped. It was my day off, and Mila was out. I figured I'd check the car's oil, something I hadn't done in ages, since the car rarely left the garage. Napkin in hand, I was ready to pop the hood when I noticed something odd. The dust on the hood wasn't untouched. It had been wiped away in a pattern that immediately caught my attention. The marks told a story I didn't want to read. Familiar outlines of a body pressed against the middle, handprints near the windshield, and a couple more by the headlights. You didn't need to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out what went down on that hood. Someone had been very comfortable there recently. And just like that, it hit me, my wife had been cheating on me. The rage I felt in that moment. Words can't even come close. For the first few minutes, I was consumed by the kind of anger that makes you see red. I wanted to destroy everything in sight. And, well, I did. I stomped all over her flowers, yanked down the curtains she picked out, and turned the house into a bit of a disaster zone. When I finally cooled off, I grabbed a couple of suitcases from the pantry and packed up her things. Mila showed up about an hour later. The moment she saw our flowers ripped out of the ground, she stormed into the house, shouting at the top of her lungs. "Have you lost your mind? Are you drunk? What the hell is going on here?" Then her eyes landed on the suitcases sitting smack in the middle of the room. Her tone shifted instantly. "Darling, what's going on?" she asked, her voice now trembling. "What's going on?" I repeated, my tone as calm as a frozen lake. "You turned out to be nothing but trash, and now you're leaving. Go wherever you like, but you're not staying here." Her face twisted in disbelief. "Are you serious right now?" "Stop talking nonsense," she snapped. "Did someone tell you some ridiculous story about me?" "Oh, Mila," I chuckled, shaking my head. "No one had to tell me anything. Next time you decide to get busy on my car, maybe wipe the evidence off the hood." Her whole demeanor crumbled in an instant. She started sputtering excuses, her voice cracking, then suddenly collapsed onto the sofa and began sobbing. Pathetic. I could see she was waiting for me to comfort her, to tell her it was all just a misunderstanding. But there was no chance of that. "Get out," I said coldly, standing over her. "Unless you want me to drag you out by your hair. Do you really want that kind of humiliation?" Mela shook her head meekly, stood up, and began to gather her things. It was pitiful, really. She dragged her suitcases outside and plopped down on one, phone in hand, calling someone. Through the window, I watched as a car pulled up a few minutes later. A guy got out, young, smug, and all too eager to help her load her bags into the trunk. Then, just to twist the knife further, he hugged her and kissed her right there in front of my house. Up until that moment, some part of me still clung to the hope that maybe her infidelity was a one-time thing, a stupid mistake. But that kiss sealed it. I knew then and there that this was no fling. It was a full-blown relationship. Fuming, I picked up the phone and called her father. I laid everything out, every humiliating detail, and told him I was filing for divorce. Since the house, the car, and everything else were mine before the marriage, there wasn't much to fight over. We split clean, like two ships sailing in opposite directions. But God, I missed her. The nights were the worst. My friends tried their best to keep me sane. They'd swing by in the evenings, keep me company, talk about anything but Mila. Without them, I don't know how I would have gotten through it. Then one day, while scrolling through social media, I stumbled across a post. Mila had remarried. It hadn't even been 2 months since the divorce papers were signed. Sinfully, I couldn't help but wonder if she was already pregnant. And honestly, I wanted revenge, on her for breaking my heart, and on him for sleeping with a married woman. But what was the point? Some battles aren't worth fighting. I couldn't shake the feeling of bitterness, knowing that despite everything they'd done, they were still out there, living their happy little life. My ex had it all: her home, her husband, and even a job at some high-end beauty salon. Funny thing is, her new husband was the one who got her that job. But, of course, the universe always gives you a chance to correct mistakes. 6 months after they got married, my buddy ran into Mila at a nightclub. Imagine his surprise when he saw her kissing some unknown guy. We'd spent a lot of time going through photos on social media, so Yura recognized her immediately. That wasn't her husband. No, Mila was out there with someone else. Yura filmed the whole thing and sent it over to me with a simple note: "Do whatever you want with this." At first, I wasn't sure what to do with the footage. Sure, the guy who'd taken Mila from me was a piece of work, but I didn't want to fall into the same endless loop of betrayal. Still, I couldn't help myself. I tracked the guy down on social media and sent him a message. I told him I had some information about Mila. His response? Pure arrogance. He told me to mind my own business, told me to stay out of their lives. Fine, if that's how he wanted to play it. A second later, I posted the video of Mila with her mystery man right on his profile. An hour later, he deleted it, but of course, the damage was done. Reposts had already spread like wildfire. Our town's small, and everyone knows everyone's business. Within a week, I learned that the whole thing had blown up. Their happy marriage fell apart, and the guy even got her fired from her job. They kicked her out of there at his request. And as if that wasn't enough, rumors started circulating that her own parents had cut ties with her. They couldn't stand the disgrace their daughter had brought on them. Mila messaged me once, wanting to meet, but honestly, I just laughed. After everything that went down, there was no chance in hell I'd give her the time of day.